Hi there guys, and welcome back to Harman Art TV. So in today's video I'd like to talk about what is the high-end art market. So yeah, this is going to be interesting, so let's get to it. Yeah, so if you're new to this channel is about sharing my journey as an artist and my passion for all things art. So you're welcome to join me on this journey. But anyway, yeah, let's start with, what is the high-end art market? I think what I found out most importantly about the high-end art market is that it consists of mainly kind of auction houses, high-end or high-profile galleries. And it's usually made up of artists that sell, original one-off artworks at substantial prices, prices up in the millions. So that's kind of the key basics that I've learned from, what is the high-end art market. But I'll give you a rundown of what I've discovered online. So this website called medium.com, I think, they mentioned that masterpieces priced at 5 million or more make up the very top of the art market, and this has seen sustained buying at this level. So it seems to be like the consensus agreement on that one. And then those who own works that have value in this secondary market, which I think the secondary market refers to like the auction house market. So when say a collector buys an original artwork from an artist, whether that's from the gallery representing the artist or from the artist directly, if that work then enters into the auction house and resells at a higher price, I think that's classed as the kind of secondary market, I guess. I could be wrong, but I'm still learning. So those people that own works that have value in the secondary market, they see it as a real asset that can be used to hedge against inflation. So I guess that's why you have some collectors or buyers that buy an original artwork and then resell it in the auction house. Yeah, so maybe that's why these collectors collect these high value artworks, so that they can then store some of their wealth in these artworks. If they purchased a artwork that is for an investment, they can use that artwork to kind of preserve their wealth from getting eroded by inflation. So that seems to be another kind of agreement as to what kind of determines or what kind of happens within this high-end art market. And another website called vox.com says that many people are going after a small number of artists, and this then drives up the prices for these artworks, these original artworks in the high-end market. But what I found was interesting, it says that just 0.2% of artists have work that sells for more than 10 million. According to the US UBS and Art Basel report. Art Basel being the major kind of international art fair. And another quote taken from this website, it says, "It definitely is a good example of a winner-take-all market where revenues and profits are distributed in a highly unequal way." So that referring just to 0.2% of artists, I guess potentially working living artists in this world. Only 0.2% of those artists sells work for more than 10 million, which this kind of article from Vox.com seems to suggest. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So it's just 0.2% of working living artists sell work for more than 10 million. I mean, 10 million is a lot of money, and but it is quite interesting how there is potentially a small group of artists basically commanding those types of prices. And so it makes me think about, well, then what happens to the other artists, like artists like myself, or other people like other artists like myself? I guess we're technically at the lower end of the market in some way, unless any one of us artists are lucky enough to be picked up by a higher end gallery and placed into that arena. So yeah, I thought that was pretty eye-opening, yeah. And also I was thinking, so what's going on with the high-end market during this time? Because obviously we've been going through this pandemic since March last year here in the UK. But I've seen on news that there's been that the art market, that the high-end art market has been doing really well during this pandemic, supposedly, and selling lots of works at these kind of high prices in the millions. So even though we've been having this pandemic and where the economy has kind of suffered from what's happened, but on the flip side, we've still seen high-end artworks sell during these uncertain times. So what has caused this? So from doing my research, it seems like auction houses have kind of restructured their business models to online. And this seems to have helped facilitate new global buyers. And I also read like new buyers in their 30s or under have also started coming into this market and acquiring artworks. So maybe because we've had this online shift, this online business shift, because everyone's been stuck at home and not being able to travel, this has opened up new potential buyers to enter into the high art market scene and potentially bid on artworks and acquire new artworks. Maybe this is not just auction houses, maybe this could also apply to high-end galleries as well, but I'm not too sure about that part. What other characteristics define the high-end art market? So I've also found out that, we look at auction houses again, collectors may look at past auction prices to determine its value and potential, but I suppose that could also relate to the more kind of high-end gallery setting as well. And then high demand artists can also help drive up prices. So if an artist is well recognized, you could say someone like Damien Hirst or Jeff Koons, because they're well known, they're well respected, they have that track record of sales, of publications, that can also help drive up their prices, because there's a demand from those collectors to keep collecting their artworks. And that also might be driven by the fact that their price would increase after that the prices would constantly increase after numerous sales. And buying patterns may be based on consensus agreement of artists. So if there's a consensus agreement from collectors, gallery owners, about, you know, a potential artist. So this agreement, this consensus agreement, would be based upon, you know, things like sales, museum collections, what high-profile collectors or critics are saying about this artist. So all these kind of things can then feed into this, and also help put this artist in the high-end kind of market, I guess. So what else defines this market? So arts can be purchased for investment reasons, so that wealthy people can maintain their wealth and resell it at a higher price in the future. But what I've learned from this also is that if there is a resale of art through an auction house, the profits don't go to the artist, they go to the seller, and obviously the auction house will take a commission from that sale. And I've also found out that buyers in auctions could use legal tax loopholes to buy art to avoid paying additional taxes. So if you imagine that some wealthy individual has, you know, millions or billions of dollars, pounds in the bank, and maybe they're getting a kind of salary, a high salary, maybe they want to then offload some of that into an artwork, and maybe that's a way for them to kind of legally avoid paying any additional or too much taxes. So that's what I've also found out. And it also mentions that collectors can also receive tax benefits by donating these pieces to museums. That's another thing I found out. Yeah, I mean, these are kind of like surface things, and I mean, I don't know the full extent of the story, but it just seems like it's pretty interesting, this high-end art market, that, you know, in some sense it's not just about the art, but it's also being treated as a kind of asset that people can own to preserve their money into the future. And also art critics or dealers, I found out, can hype up artworks to gain attention, and artworks can then be put into the auction house with kind of these fake kind of insiders to kind of bid up the price and make the price go higher. So you imagine, an art collector has purchased a work within the millions, and then he or she then wants to resell it at a date and make a profit from that. Well, supposedly that person who's putting that artwork in the auction house could potentially hire people to come into the auction house, bid up the price, or to try and create that momentum to build up the price. You can imagine some people saying, "Oh, 2 million," and another guy who's not aware of this might think, "Oh, the price is going up, I'm going to bid up higher then," and then that's how it kind of takes shape. So things like that. That is one potential thing. That could potentially happen in the auction market. I mean, it's from one of my research online. I don't know if it does. Maybe there's some kind of stringent rules in place that prevents that, but it's quite interesting looking into it. So it seems possible that artwork sold in the high-end market can enter a bubble where the prices increase so much where not many people can afford it, making artwork then difficult to sell. So in this case, it would get devalued quickly to bring it back down to an accessible price. So that's what I've kind of wrote about coming from my perspective, what I think, because, and also I'm doing research on YouTube because someone else was saying, you know what, if an artwork goes into the high-end market, but on the secondary market, but if it, if the price keeps going up, and it goes up in its billions, or who's going to be able to afford it? Because there's only there's only a handful of people that would potentially have that money who are living on this planet. So if it gets to the point where it gets so high in price that no one can afford it, obviously it's going to be in a kind of bubble, and that bubble is going to pop, and that artwork would have to be then brought down to a reasonable price that can be affordable to these high net worth people. So what's my view? Should original artworks sell in the millions? I don't know, what do you guys think? It is really interesting. After really digging deep into this, what is the high-end market, I realised it's pretty it's a pretty interesting market. I think, but I suppose the whole art market in itself can be quite interesting in terms of how do you justify a price. But in terms of like the high-end market where things are selling for millions, I mean, it is how do you justify that kind of price tag? And I think for me, as an artist, I understand the time, I understand the skill and the idea that goes into a creation. And in most cases, original artworks are one-off pieces, as they generally cannot be mass-produced copies. Like this one in the back, I doubt I'll be able to make this same piece again in the future. If I did try and make this same piece in the future, I think it would be very hard to, because there's some kind of unexpected results that happened. It's not something I can just easily recreate. And so that's why I understand. So I think for this reason, this gives it value to be priced accordingly, And also I realise, if the artist does have a good track record of things like awards, press, sales, gallery representation, private and public collections, this could also help justify the price. But however, I also realised that if a lot of people agree on a particular artwork to be valuable, that can also create a demand for a high price. But I mean, I think just because the artwork has a lot of status and demand does not mean that other works of lesser value should be overlooked, because there's so many other, amazing artworks that are well below the millions that some artworks in the high-end market demand, in terms of the prices they demand. So I guess all artworks have to start at the bottom to then gain momentum, and maybe this is also the case for artworks in the high-end market. Maybe that artist had to start somewhere to be able to get to that point in his or her career to then justify those prices. So maybe that what happened in the past all led up to that moment. So that's kind of my view on it. I mean, should those pieces be sold at those prices? I think maybe yes in some cases, maybe no in other cases. I think it all depends on how much people are willing to spend. I mean, so I think I think it all depends really. I mean, I guess art is in the eyes of the beholder, and what that beholder sees to have value, and then what everyone else sees that has value, because that's what I found out in this market. If everyone believes that artwork has value, everyone believes that that price is going to appreciate in the future, then generally everyone kind of flocks to it and is all kind of fighting over the space to purchase that work. So it maybe in that sense it does justify its price in some way. And also I was thinking, you know, if the artwork is really old, if it's centuries old, then maybe that can also be a contributing factor, because it's so scarce, it's so rare, and then maybe people want to also preserve that artwork into the future. I think artwork is a very interesting thing to be able to think about the value, because, you know, in today's world where we can just, you know, go out, you know, buy some paint and it's all the same, you know what you're buying, it's black paint, it's going to be the same the next time you buy it, it's going to be the same the next time you buy it, it's going to be in the same packaging the next time you buy it. But with artwork, you know, you can't buy the same artwork unless you were to buy a print. So it does have that scarcity, that rarity to it, that you're the only person that owns that unique artwork. So I guess that, you know, so yeah, so maybe that does then justify the price. Whoops. But I think for me personally, you know, there's got to be some level of sophistication, some skill involved in there, and technique. I think that also helps to justify it. So in that sense, overall, there might be some artworks in the high-end market that are just ridiculous prices that don't deserve to be at that price, and people are just speculating on it, and then that's just driving up the price, and maybe it is in a kind of bubble. But I guess there's other things in this society that's also, you know, kind of in a bubble as well. I guess it's all just supply and demand. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of my view on it. But I really like to know what your view is. I mean, what do you think of the high-end market? Do you think it's crazy and out of control, or do you think, you know, some of these prices are justified and correct? Yeah, so I'd be interested to know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, that's a wrap for this video. It's a pretty interesting subject. I think you could probably split this video up into like multiple videos, but yeah, maybe in the future dive deeper. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, feel free to like the video, and also you're welcome to check out my Patreon account, and I'll put the link in the description below. And if you sign up for my Patreon, you'll have access to these videos before they go public on Harman Art TV, and you also get exclusive content and access to things like merchandise and greeting cards and desktop wallpapers. Just try to make it really kind of personalized for you guys. But yeah, welcome to check that out if you enjoy these videos, and I will see you in the next video. So take care of yourself, and see you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.